Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah Rushton, and I'm the Director of Social Impact here at Crocs Inc. And it is amazing to be here today with two young change makers who've received grants from RIVET, a nonprofit that funds youth-led social innovations. Today's change makers are making a difference in their community and globally through their social impact work. Kenisha Arora is joining us from Ontario, Canada, and Shashwat Gangwal from Bangalore, India. Both of these young people saw an unmet need in their communities at a relatively young age and made the decision to rise to the moment and, as we say at Crocs, step up to greatness. So, Kenisha, what was the moment that started your journey with Hope Sisters? And can you tell us a little bit about the work that your organization is doing today?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah. We are so beyond grateful for this collaboration, and especially because my sister and I started this small initiative when I was 16 and she was 12 years old. The pandemic had just hit, and we were really in a period where the world felt very dark. Schools were closed, streets were empty, and the news really felt like it was just one piece of news after another. And we kept thinking about people like our grandparents who were completely alone and isolated during that time. And we were remembering those who might be feeling quite lonely, just like our grandparents. So we started off, my sister and I, just by writing cards to seniors in long-term care homes. We got on Google Translate, we wrote them in different languages, we worked with our local members of parliament and ministers to deliver them out. And really it was something that we could do to bring a smile on someone's face who didn't have an opportunity to, visit their family or see people that they loved a lot. And that's how we began our initiative, just by writing cards. But soon after it became a movement of hope, we started getting emails and calls from other young leaders, daycares, and teachers who wanted to get involved. And that's when the project grew. So now we have a lot of different chapters globally and different projects that we work on. One of our biggest projects is Project Hope Bags, that we basically put together bags for children in foster care homes or shelters or rural villages now in Liberia and Malawi. And these bags have a lot of different items that could provide them a sense of health, empowerment, education, and hope. So in the past, we've included toys, books, treats, and gotten a lot of donations from small businesses. But when we started, we didn't really have a big plan or a blueprint. We just had compassion, and we knew that we could start small. And these small actions have really created a ripple effect. And now we're so grateful for all of our partners, including RIVET and now Crocs, to be able to bring our mission forward, and especially grateful to all of the hope spreaders that we have across Canada, but also across the world, who've taught us that hope can really be a simple action that doesn't need a lot. It just needs presence.
That is incredible. And I love the term hope spreaders. Is that something you've coined?
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, Shashwat, I need to know what insight led to your interest in sustainable food packaging solutions, and how is Infinity Box tackling this issue now?
So thanks for the question, and I'm really grateful to be here. So honestly, Infinity Box started off with a very simple idea that food delivery has been burgeoning across the globe. I mean, when I was in college, we never really liked the mess food, so we would always order it. And one thing that did bother me, but I didn't really do anything about it at that time, was the that we would eat in a container and just throw it away in the next 5 minutes, right? Felt wrong, but it didn't push me over the edge to actually go and do something about it. But then I couldn't stop thinking about the scale. And one day when me and my friends were actually walking outside, we saw that all of these containers were actually being burnt. Because when you look at the kind of cuisine that's served in India, it's only disposable polypropylene packaging or plastic packaging that can be utilized to serve that food. So when you think about the scale of about 5 million orders a day at that time, you kind of realize that, I mean, it's just the kind of impact that we're creating on the environment is insane, right? What if we were able to actually build a reuse model and it wasn't a nice to have, but the default? And that's how we started. And then we ventured into enterprises because at that time, which was during COVID, almost all the cafeterias in the country were using disposables. So when you start thinking about the scale of the problem, the kind of waste that we are generating, and we live in a completely linear world, it's just the pollution that was being created and the lives that were being impacted sort of triggered the idea that we want to do something about it. Nobody else is doing it, so I will go ahead and do it. So today, Infinity Box actually works with more than 100 large enterprises with all Fortune 500 clients to help them enable more sustainable hygiene management and reuse systems in their cafeterias. We manage over 400,000 orders a day. The idea that it still keeps driving me and still makes me feel that we've not even, touched 1% of the problem is how are we going to build systems that care about the planet, the people, and the future? Nobody's really solving for that. So that's what the ethos behind Infinity Box is. And I hope we can do something to, at least scratch the surface of the problem.
And I love that the theme that both of you are talking a little bit about is systems, and that you've both not taken a seat and waited for somebody else to solve a problem. It's something that you've decided to really step in and make a difference in that system. So wow, kudos to both of you. Well, at Crocs Inc., our social impact platform, Step Up to Greatness, is the way that we're trying to work to help 3 million young people, just like you, lift their voices. And we're proud to partner with organizations like RIVET, who are funding initiatives that are authentically youth designed and youth led. But we know that we also live in a world where young people aren't always heard. So I'm wondering for both of you, how did you get comfortable bringing big ideas into spaces or systems even that you weren't necessarily within a position of power to bring? And what did it feel like at times maybe to be the youngest person in the room?
That's a great question, Sarah. I learned very early on that comfort really isn't the goal, and honestly, purpose is. You can't always be comfortable in these rooms. I've seen and been in some of the most intimidating rooms you can think of. I was, elected as a board of governor at my Western University, and I sat next to the former governor of the Bank of Canada, major executives of big corporations, and senior physicians who have really shaped national policy. And then later, when I was elected as the youth representative to the UN High-Level Committee for Education, I found myself sitting beside the Prime Minister of France, the President of Sierra Leone, the Executive Director of UNICEF, and very high-level leaders that had a lot of portfolio and influence. So I wasn't only the youngest by years, but I really was the youngest by decades. And so I didn't see that my role or the seat that I had on the table, it wasn't just my seat. It wasn't about proving that I deserved to be there, but it really was an opportunity for me to uplift the voices of so many young people who probably didn't even know that these rooms existed and that these decisions were affecting their lives in ways that they didn't even know. And so my presence in a lot of these rooms has always been about uplifting and sharing the stories of the students I met either in the shelters, or the youth who always told me that they had felt unseen, or even the children who said that the education systems was never working for them. And so that's why whenever I enter these rooms, I always try to, be the young person that gives the kind of clarity that people need, kind of like a reality check, and share these stories of experiences. Because when data, can't measure a lot of these experiences that young people are living through, and especially the gaps that we have in our systems. So for me, it's less about being invested in, invested in my own comfort or my own fear. It's really about breaking through a lot of that and being willing to ask the uncomfortable questions or say the uncomfortable things, especially when it feels out of place to you. And I've learned to see that age really is not a limit, but it is a lens. And I think that is our greatest strengths as young people in these spaces.
Age is not a limit, but it's a lens. That's an unbelievable way to think about that. Wow. Okay, Shashwat, what about you?
I definitely do relate with Kenisha on her journey, and my journey was slightly different in the sense that we had to work with a lot of consumers on the ground, a lot of enterprise clients, and approach them with an idea that had never been heard of. Approach them with an urgency that they did not feel. I mean, the way that the systems have been working, because that's how this practice was built into it, they didn't really see a need to change it. So of course, I was in rooms where everybody was at least 20, 30, 40 years elder. And I was trying to pitch an idea which in theory was solving a problem, but for them that wasn't really a problem. So it was about the complete urgency and the boldness of the idea that got us the first client who believed in us. And the reason that they believed in us was the conviction that me and my team showed them that at the end of the day, when you are trying to change systems that have been there for decades, you have to understand that there is a real problem that needs to be solved. There's a system that has to be built. And after a point, I wasn't in those rooms because I was trying to impress somebody or I was trying to make a larger company. It was just showing up every single day to change something that had to be changed. Nobody else is doing it. We will do it no matter as many times as it takes. And if we have to be the loudest or the most persistent, that's what we'll do. So that was sort of our journey.
It's amazing. The power of both youth innovation and youth tenacity, even.